The urgent mission by the West to stop ISIS from advancing is currently focused on the Syrian town of Kobani. To be totally blunt, it ain't going well. Kobani sits right next to Turkey, a NATO ally. Despite repeated coalition airstrikes, ISIS fighters have now taken over parts of the town and shows no signs of withdrawing. Perhaps most disturbing, the Pentagon said it's not surprised.
Airstrikes alone are not going to do this, not going to fix this, not going to save the town of Kobani. We know that, and we've been saying that over and over again, and yet we continue to get questions of, well, why aren't you doing more? And how come they aren't more effective? But what we've been very honest about the limits of air power here.
Phil Black is on the border watching this grim situation unfold. Has Kobani fallen, nearly fallen? What's the status?
It hasn't fallen yet, Carol, but all the facts on the ground suggest it is very likely only a matter of time. Today, up above us, we've heard aircraft for much of the day. We've seen a number of large explosions around Kobani behind me. In fact, if we zoom in, you can see there is still a great deal of smoke above that southwesterly direction of the city there. So we've seen airstrikes, but certainly not with the same intensity, the same regularity that we've seen over the last couple of days. What that means, says the fighters inside the city, these are the Kurdish fighters, the men and women resisting ISIS, they haven't had as good a day today as they had over the previous 48 hours or so. They had recaptured ground inside the city from ISIS. They've now lost that ground again. They say what they need are regular, constant airstrikes hitting those ISIS targets around the city. Then they can take care of the street fighting. That's not what they've seen today, Karen.
Well, military experts here say you really need ground troops. We know the United States is not going to provide boots on the ground. So Turkey's sitting right there. It's got a strong military. Why won't it send ground troops?
Well, Turkey's set a number of conditions. It says it's very much in favour of ground troops. It has resources in the area. Look, we can show you quickly on the top of a hilltop not far from the border. You can see some Turkish tanks in position there, just below the crest of a hill, out of sight from the Syrian side, but we can see them here. So it's got these resources in place, but it doesn't want to mount a ground operation on its own. It says this should be an international operation. But, of course, so far, few, if any, countries are signalling that is a good idea or that they would be willing to sign up for such an operation. So what it means is that the Turkish military presence all along this border, which is significant, is effectively just sitting and watching as Kobani approaches the point of very likely falling. What those Kurdish fighters inside the city want is not necessarily Turkish troops across the border. They just want Turkey to open up the border crossing gate so that those Kurdish fighters can be resupplied with ammunition, more fighters. They say that would give them the chance of holding out just a little longer, Karen.